Morning. I'd like to call this meeting to order for the Blackhawk County Board of Supervisors for January 13, 2026. Roll call, please, Ms. Schwartz.
Schwartz.
Here.
Hall.
Here.
Grant. Kurtenbach.
Here.
Leyland.
Here. Would everyone please join us for a moment of silence to reflect on our actions here today? Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 1, agenda is received as proposed or as amended.
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign, the agenda is received. Is there anyone in the audience today or online that would like to speak during public comments? If so, if you'd step to the podium, give your name and address. No one in the room stepping forward. Anyone online? All right, we'll move on to claims and payments. This is a resolution that the Board of Supervisors approve expenditures and that the county auditor be authorized and directed to issue payments against the various settlement of such claims as allowed.
So moved. Second.
Ms. Weidman.
Good morning, Board. Our total bill payment today is $512,705.93. Of that, out of the Sheriff 60/40 fund, we're paying $59,956.86. And I see your faces, that's a large amount this time. We are paying the second 6-month installment for the jail assessment program staff to Department of Corrections, that's $40,000. We are paying a 2-year software maintenance fee for the payroll software of $17,960. So those are the large ones in there. Not really too many other very large or significant ones. Only one payment for ARPA projects, $5,910.98 to Envision for Pinecrest renovations. And most of the other things are just routine payments. We did add this time, I don't know if you want me to speak about it every time, but we did add a summary of payroll to the bottom of this. So our total payroll, both gross pay to employees, benefits, payroll taxes, is $1,720,364.27. Everything appears to be in order.
Thank you. Any questions?
You said that out of 60/40, that was a 2-year software?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, it's cheaper if we do it 2 years at a time, so we started doing that 2 years ago and now we're doing it again.
Thank you.
This is a resolution. Please answer as your name is called.
Kurtenbach.
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
Schwartz.
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes. Item 4, receive project updates from department heads and elected officials.
Good morning, Board. Kathy Nicholas here. Due to the fair weather, the roads are in pretty good condition. Even the gravel roads, they don't have too many potholes in them right now. And we are busy cutting brush due to the fair weather. We have a large group of employees over on Gilbertville Road at the Highway 20 overpass, so we're getting a lot of trees cut in that area. And then smaller crews throughout the county are busy working. They're also working on maintaining the vehicles and the shops at this time. Can I answer any questions at this time? Thank you.
Thank you.
Morning, Board. Mike Hendrickson, Director, Blackhawk County Conservation. You may recall about this time last year, I was here talking to you about some timber stand improvement work that we were going to do in Blackhawk Park. And due to the high visibility of that, we did quite a bit of work via the media and getting the word out that we were going to do that, hoping that people that had questions about our process and our management plan, they would come forward and ask those questions so that we could educate and be transparent and let them know what we were doing. We do some type of timber stand improvement work on our acres every year. But as people become more aware and see what's going on and they have more questions, we started to put this together and again, to be more transparent and hopefully answer some questions and things like that. we've tried to be a little proactive there. So we are working on a 37-acre piece of forest. It's on the Blackhawk Creek Greenbelt, just north of Hudson. It runs northeast until it hits the city limits of Waterloo, the Katowski Greenbelt, that area up through there. So we are working on 37 acres this year. We have we've gone through our plan. We've got it. We've put it out for bid. There will be a harvest on that, and the bids were accepted by our county conservation board, and that work is going to start just as soon as we get some frozen ground, which we hope is going to be this week. Now, so to further our education program, we worked with Matt Rafferty, who owns Flight Spool, and we put together a video. That video is going to be posted this week. We're working with Gabby. I think she's going to post it on the county's website. Our Blackhawk County website is going to have it on there. So it's just about a 2-minute video to try to help educate and answer questions for people when they want when they've got questions. Hopefully, if you guys get phone calls, you can direct them to this. That's what we'll do, but then we're always open to answer those questions. So I'm going to show you that video real quick with the help of Al, and let you move on to the meeting. There is sound. We just don't have it. Either way, no, that's fine. It explains timber stand improvement. It goes through forming a plan. It goes through the 3 main phases of a plan, which includes harvest and thinning, which will start this week. Crop tree release, that's thinning around the better trees so that they'll go ahead and grow. And then of course weed tree removal. That's what this video is about. So when it gets posted, take a look at it. The verbiage is really good. And we do have a version with closed caption, so.
Mike, 2 questions.
Yep.
Does this also include removing the trees that are in the water through the creek?
This probably doesn't. We had a crew go through there last fall and work on that, Conservation Corps crew that we hired to go through there and work on that. So this normally doesn't include that. In work like this, we do try to stay away from those riverbank edges because we want those trees to stay in there to help hold the banks and things like that. So sorry we didn't have any sound on that, but anyway, watch it when it
looks
gets
really
posted.
That looks really good.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, board. Orlando Lovelace, Veterans Service Officer. I got a smile on my face. No, good morning. Just wanted to bring up to speed that last Wednesday, we had our commission meeting, but also I was able to participate in the Iowa Commission Veterans Affairs Legislative Initiative, where the Commandant and a lot of the service organizations were talking about top priorities for legislation. As legislation season has already started, they asked that us county veteran service officers join them on the 21st of January, but that's Veterans on the Hill. So I want to participate in that. Some of the top priorities that they have is property tax relief for veterans. I'm very concerned about that. Protection of veterans benefits, CVSO excellence, Iowa Veterans Trust Fund modernization, where they want to move that, increase that fund from 50 to 75 million. Again, these are all proposals, and then supporting veteran service organizations are just a few. It's a good meeting down in Des Moines. It's a quarterly meeting that they do, so I'm going to participate in that quarterly. And then I just wanted to show you some of our 6-month production from the start of the year up through first. You can see our commissioners, the ones that are second term, Joy Briscoe, Henry Clark, and Michael Butler. Then our first term commissioners, they're still doing a great job. Just moving on to honoring another fallen hero, Rick Calhoun was another veteran who did a lot of great things in the community. He lived out in LaPorte, supported LaPorte City, but also was very involved with Waterloo. And so we're going to miss Rick. He was involved at our picnics. He was involved with the Honor Guard. And one of the unique things was he was also part of our ramp crew. That when we were building ramps for veterans, he was one of those that were out there doing that. Aligning with the Commandant Jacoby's goals, a couple of them that I want to do is CVSO excellence. You noticed that was one of their top. And then also to help, he talked about where Iowa ranks among all of the 50 states in the two territories, Guam and Puerto Rico. Unfortunately, Iowa ranks 48th in federal funds coming into the states for veteran benefits. He wants to see that number increase. He wants to see our ranking increase. And so I'm going to take that online as a goal for us, is to see what we can do out of one of the 99 counties to help move Iowa up in that standpoint. And again, I think we can answer that mail by our goal reflections. As you can see, our goal reflections, if we can mirror those, I think we can answer some of the mail. It's a lofty goal, but it's a goal. And then in our donation and grant for the month of December, we took in $4,100. You can see almost $4,000 in Christmas funds, and so we're very appreciative to the kind citizens that donate to help support things that we do for our veterans, and I'll show you that here in a little bit. Some of our production, as you can see, we for the month of December alone, with the benefits that we processed, there was 32 claims that came in for a total amount of $191,000. In particular, you can see where we were at with our different clients, but also in the semi-annual production, about $1 million in retro pay of veterans and surviving spouses receiving payments. And that does add to our collective, and I'll kind of talk to that about that. But again, if there's anything changing one life by one claim, because it does change a veteran's life. And then kind of our semi-annual totals, you can see there we got 883 veterans that came in for the first 6 months. Of those, 115 were new veterans. And that's a key number, that new veteran. When I looked at the last 6 months, I did a look back. We've had 1,972 new veterans come in our office the last six years, but unfortunately, we've had 1,300 deaths in the last 6 years. So just being accountable to our numbers in that standpoint, and again, being transparent as possible, as much as possible, and then being accountable for our numbers here. You can see the reflection. But moving on, also talks about our service components in the last 6 months, who's come in. Again, the Army's leading the way. But then you also can see the various cities within Black Hawk County, the numbers of veterans who come in from those counties and from outside of Black Hawk County. In particular, you can see LaPorte City and Evansdale is carrying the weight. We've had a good discussion last Wednesday on how do we reach more with Washburn, Raymond, and some of the others like Gilbertsville. And we noticed that the conversation went to, well, how is the service organizations in those smaller rural cities working? Because it's the service organizations that really help add a punch to promoting veteran disabilities, veteran benefits. So we're looking at possibly doing road shows in the smaller areas to get the word out that we're here to support them. And then this is, again, I apologize for showing this every month, but this is how I trigger myself, how well we're doing compared to the other big 8, that is the other 8 counties, but really it's a collective, it's 99 counties. If we're gonna move that 48 off that ranking to 47 or 46, all 99 counties have to come as a collaborative effort to make sure we're improving what we're doing. Again, going back to CVSO excellence, County Veteran Service Officers excellence, and making sure we are promoting our offices and getting the veterans their entitlements so that we could possibly move out of that 48th ranking. And again, helping veterans, some of the great things, again, majority of this is done by our staff. But you can see where we spent some of the donated funds. We talked about the 4,000 that came in for December, but then you can see some of the expenditures and what we've done. Again, every year we do the nursing home bags. We did 125 going out to the various nursing homes for veterans, the surviving spouses, and then you can see the veteran dinners that we did for Christmas. Real light on relief, only $200 with utilities, and then you can see the trust fund disbursements. And then lastly, our general service to veterans, like I talked to our commissioners, we are a little ahead of last year. As you can see, our prior totals were, $20,000 for the full year, and in the 6 months, we've already at 17. Most of that expenditure is with our funeral. We've had a lot of requests for assistance with laying to rest our veterans, and so we've been, answering that mail. But we still considered ourselves doing pretty well when it comes to our budget. Then lastly, our December staff and commissioner participation. The only one I wanted to really point out is that Cedar Falls Rotary came out and they visited our office, and we gave them a brief about how the great things our staff is doing in support of veterans. You can see some of the others. And just standing by to address any questions or concerns.
I have a quick question for you. You talked a little bit about a smaller community outreach. Are y'all engaging like Gabby on, I'd recommend engaging Gabby on coming up with that plan, or if she isn't already.
So she's going to be involved in that. We're looking at some other creative ideas that we haven't done in the last 6 years. I know that, the county auditor provided us some recommendations, and we're getting some other recommendations from some of the other community partners. So we're just looking at doing stuff like that. The biggest thing is, does those rural areas have somewhere where we can go and interact with veterans? Typically, it's a service organization, but some of the rural areas don't have service organizations because they're dwindling. So we've got to look at some other captions. To include, there's a PSA that on the western side of the state is in Nebraska, but Nebraska has a TV PSA talking about veteran benefits. It's a short PSA, and so the county I've talked about that. Is there a way that us counties can create a PSA, put it on one of our news channels to help promote for the veterans who don't go to a service organization, don't interact with veterans at coffee and camaraderie, but another way of reaching our younger veterans and veterans who don't come out of their comfort zones. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yolanda, I was just going to ask, you mentioned the legislative priorities. If you haven't already, would you send those to us? I think it's just something when we meet with our legislators or when we meet with the UCC group or whatever.
Sure.
There might be some common things that we can have to do. So.
I'll make sure I do that today.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I do just have a quick update, in light of the recent events for the Senate File 75. I just wanted to give you guys a heads up that we're starting to get inquiries in our office, so we're gonna be putting that out on our website. And then also gonna make a request to draw for those terms, just now that we know that we need to move forward.
Yeah, we need to know as much as the public needs to know kind of what our next steps are. Okay. Thank you. Anyone online? Okay, moving on, thank you all. Item 5, minutes approved for January 6, 2026.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, minutes are approved. Later this morning, we will have a hearing on the bid opening of proposed purchase of steel for Oxley Road Bridge, 74825. Item 7 is a consent agenda. All the items are acted upon by a single resolution unless someone wishes to remove anything for discussion.
So moved.
Second.
Please answer as your name is called.
Hall.
Yes.
Schwartz.
Yes.
Kurttenbach.
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes. Item 8, contracts and agreements. Resolution that the memorandum of understanding with Teamsters Local 238, adding 8 hours of casual pay, be approved and direct the chair to sign for the same as recommended by Amanda Fesenmeyer, Human Resources Director.
So moved.
Second.
Great, thank you.
Okay, really pretty straightforward. So this was from the closure of the Christmas Eve on the operations of the courthouse and other offices that were non-24/7. This is the first public safety agreement for adding the additional 8 hours to kind of balance that out and make it equitable and that everybody receive a similar time off structure than what was authorized. So it is above and beyond what the contract allowed, so that's why we had to do an MOU. Union signed off on it, and this is the final step to that, and then payroll will get it processed for the upcoming pay period beginning on Sunday, I guess is that 17th or 18th, I believe, so. Any questions at all about this?
That goes throughout the year, or is there a stop date?
Yes, so there is a stop date, it'll be a year from the effective date on the 18th, and it is only applicable to employees that are hired as of the effective date. So for example, if you get hired in September of next year, you don't receive this, which makes sense. Any questions about that? Yeah, it's a use it or lose it, and it'll get used.
Appreciate the language was the same for both of these. So,
Thanks, yep. All right,
Thank you. This is a resolution, please answer as your name is called.
Schwartz,
yes.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes. Item B, resolution that the memorandum of understanding with the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 204, adding 8 hours of casual pay be approved and direct the chair to sign for same as recommended by Amanda Fesenmeyer, Human Resources Director.
So moved. Second.
This is a resolution, please answer as your name is called.
Paul,
Yes.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes. Item C, resolution that the agreement with the Northeast Iowa Food Bank in the amount of $50,000 to provide services to food insecure households during the fiscal year ending June 30, 2026, as approved during the fiscal year 26 budget process, be approved and direct the chair to sign for same.
So moved.
Second.
This is really just catching up the paperwork. We had approved doing it, and I didn't realize we hadn't actually brought the contract back through for approval. So just getting that done.
Everything is in then, from them, or just, have we received the paperwork back yet then, that we needed?
You just mean, it's just the contract.
Just
so
the
if you're
contract.
talking- Yeah, not the reimbursement paperwork.
Okay.
Yeah, no, this is just to initiate the process.
Okay.
This is a resolution, please answer as your name is called.
Paul,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes. Item D, resolution that the agreement with Cerro Gordo County, Iowa for the sharing of Cerro Gordo County's license reinstatement client management software, STORM, including the initial one-time fee of $20,000 and the annual maintenance fees of $1,500 per year thereafter be approved and direct the chair to sign for the same as recommended by Brian Williams, County Attorney.
So moved. Second.
And Al, IT Director. Thank you. You're both going to speak on this a little bit?
Yeah, I can speak a little bit on some of the technical aspect of it. Al, you, IT Director, the current collection software, the process, it's a little antiquated and it's old, it's slow, and it's unstable. The new product that Cerro Gordo is developing, we looked at a lot of the other products, and this is by far the most affordable and seems to be the easiest to use. And so we are excited to have a better system for that collections division. It is secure, it is compliant, and so that's what we're looking for, and it's a lot more efficient than it currently is. Can I answer any technical questions on the software?
See what Brian has to say about the wonderful program.
I think we started, Brian Williams, Blackhawk County Attorney. We started looking at last summer for an update for the software. I did a lot of demos. We kind of stumbled upon this with Cerro Gordo. This is not a money-making endeavor for them. I mean, they want to work with us as a county doing the same things that we're doing. I do intend to obviously utilize my fine collection revenue for this particularly the one-time fee. And there is some additional potential fees for support if we need it, but they certainly were not of the impression that we would need to utilize the support function very often. So just with Al and Al's Al's done all the heavy lifting on this since we started having this discussion, so. That's kind of where we're at.
So is there improvements to this, or they, upgrade or whatever, then are there additional fees, or is this just to continue with, is either one, maybe that's premature, but I was gonna say to know, for the annual maintenance?
There may be updates, but I don't know that would necessarily be included in support.
Yeah, if there's like an update that requires their intervention where they have to sort of remote into one of our servers, I would assume that would probably incur some sort of professional service fee. I know their IT director, Ken, very well, and so we're working pretty close on this project. He says there shouldn't be a lot of updates, and we can pretty much handle it in-house. They just provide us the file, we will apply the update, and then kind of go from there. But they will always be just a phone call or an email away in case we need any support. So yeah, this is a brand new venture for them. I think they're stretching themselves a little thin potentially, but I think I think it's a good product that we looked at, and it's the most affordable, and that's what we're looking for.
Do you have an idea what our potential savings are by joining with them, rather than if we had to go alone?
We had to go alone,
Right, if we.
or we developed the software.
Oh, yeah. So this is software they developed themselves,
They
right?
developed,
Okay.
yeah.
But you had looked at other vendors that
Yeah.
did something similar, what's the price difference-ish?
There was some north of 100.
It's kind of huge. Like the most popular software is called PBK. That is adopted by a lot of the counties. ISAC runs it. I forgot what it stands for, sorry.
Carpel.
Yeah, Carpel. It's something Carpel. And it does have a component that it's actually meant for case management. It's like a one-stop shop software, but it has a component for the collections part. But I don't think it checked all the boxes when we looked at the individual things, and it's kind of you're buying the whole product, not just one component. So.
And we already have a case management system that we have invested in for 15, 20 years. We have no issues with, so that was just too much product.
Yeah.
But for a $20,000 product versus $100,000.
Yeah.
At minimum, yeah.
Yep, okay,
Pretty nice.
that's easy enough.
You said you thought they were strapping themselves a little bit hard, though. It's like, are you, not for service for us, just that they've kind of taken on more responsibility around the state?
They only have one, as far as I know, they only have one developer now. So Cerro Gordo's history, they have developed a lot of their software in-house. And so they used to have like a very large IT department, larger than ours, and it's mostly, software developers. And so, interesting fact, they wrote the Precinct Atlas software, which ISAC runs. And once I think they sold the rights to that or whatever to ISAC. So since then, they kind of slimmed down that division. I'm not worried about like the level of support. I think it'll always be there because it is an integral part of their county. So there will always be support there. So I don't envision a lot of issues. But Ken just made the comment of that, so that's why I kind of said that. So.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions? This is a resolution, please answer your names called.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes. Item A, motion to approve the travel request for Al Yu, Information Technology Director, to attend the ISAC Spring Conference March 11 through March 13 at a cost of $610 be approved.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. You want to speak to it?
Just saying, I've been asked to present on AI this year, so I will be there. And so if you're at the spring school, you can see me struggle on the stage.
Panel presentation?
I believe so, yeah. Myself and the IT director for Story County, and then I think one other person. So if you're interested in AI, please come to that session.
The use of it. You go more technical. Thank you.
Yep.
I am planning on attending as well. You did bring it forward.
And Justin is, I don't know, that one big plan
Yeah.
to attend to, so great. Okay, this is a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item B, a motion that the appointment of Travis Turpin to the Blackhawk County Conservation Board for a 5-year term be approved, effective January 13, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Great, and we were very fortunate that Travis had put in his application, and so as we had an opening available, and I think we talked about last tweet too that there's going to be another one coming available in March. But Tavis and I then interviewed him last Thursday, and I asked him if he wanted to come this morning and was available. If you'd like to say a few words, I think, about the discussion we had and your interest in conservation. Step to the podium. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, this is a pretty cool thing for me. I grew up in the outdoors. I'm from Nebraska originally. Don't hold that against me. My father and I, we did a lot. My father was an integral part of the public relations and stuff like that for state parks in Nebraska and stuff like that. So being the only son, I was by his side through all that. And so my wife Abby and I are huge fans of Waterloo, Black Hawk County, and all the park systems here. So looking forward to helping out, trying to get some promotion to the public parks and get things going. It'll be fun. I'm excited. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here and introducing yourself. Super. This is a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Well, thank you and congratulations as well.
Thank you.
That will be attached. Item C, the time is 9:30. This is for a hearing and bid opening on proposed purchase of steel for Oxley Road Bridge. Item 1 is a motion to receive and place on file proof of publication in the December 30th, 2025 period.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 2, a motion to close the hearing after oral and written comments are received.
So moved.
Second.
Michelle, what the written?
No.
This is a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same sign, motion carries. Item 3, bids to be received, opened and read. Deadline of 3 p.m. Monday, January 12.
We received one bid before the deadline yesterday. It's from Odin Enterprises Incorporated, Wahoo, Nebraska. Their bid is $38,134.12. 38,134.12. And the engineer's estimate is on the sheet that we've given you.
Kent, any thoughts on why we only received one bid?
Do you want to answer that, Ryan?
Some of it does depend on the products that we do receive, so this bid in particular did include sheet piling for our abutments. There is limited suppliers that do deal in the sheet pile. We try and send it to multiple places. I think out of the places that we typically send stuff to, we've gotten sheet piling in the past from maybe 2 different places, Odin being one of them, so it's not a product that's carried by a lot of the suppliers. Some deal just more in some of the structural shapes, I-beams, piling, etc.
Okay.
Item 4 is a motion that the Board of Supervisors review and place on file the bids allowed to allow time to review said bids as recommended by the Catherine Nicholas County Engineer.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Moving into item 10, and we'll start our discussion on the budget for fiscal year 27 and the presentations. Michelle, for these, I didn't know if you want to do introductory comments or something, or just go right into it.
Did you all pick up your packets? That's the first thing I asked. I think they already have those. Yep, I made. Yeah, no problem.
Unless you change something.
No.
Well, with your packs, I'll get started then. So good morning, supervisors. My name is Jake Rochford-Volt. I'm the library director at LaPorte City Public Library. Joined with me today, we have Cheryl McGovern, interim director at Waterloo, Kelly Stern, director at Cedar Falls, Michelle Wheeler, director at Dunkerton, Mary Busey, director at Hudson Public Libraries. We are here representing all 7 public libraries in Black Hawk County. And I want to begin by saying thank you. Thank you for your continued investment in our communities and in our rural residents. Your investment of $210,073 for the current fiscal year is vital to our services. It is a clear signal to our rural residents that we serve and that you are grateful for their continued partnership. And as we look forward to the next fiscal year, we reflect on our accomplishments from 2025. Some of them you could see featured in your packets through the photos as you flip through. You could see all 7 libraries featured there. A lot of our programs and of course a lot of kids' faces smiling and shining. And in LaPorte, we specifically have seen a full staff turnover. And with new faces come fresh ideas. We focused on adding services, reimagining our building spaces, and deepening relationships with our community stakeholders and our long-term patrons. To cement these efforts, my Board of Trustees and I adopted a new 5-year strategic plan, and we joined the Sustainable Library Certification Program, a program that Hudson Library has also joined. This program encourages us to advance practices that are environmentally sound, socially just, and economically feasible. We also expanded our Lunch with the Library program, a program we started a few years ago. Funded mostly through donations from the community. Last year, we provided over 572 lunches to kids from June through August, bridging the gap in school years. In late 2024, we began our building-wide renovation that included a brand new brand, a brand new logo, and we've also strengthened partnerships with our community. And we are just finishing up that renovation in the next month, which was $250,000 budgeted. We have new furniture, additional shelving, fresh carpet, new paint on walls, a mural in our youth area, and several new spaces, including a much-desired makerspace. We continually work towards the vision elements you have set for the county. While we have made great strides, we want Black Hawk County to be a leader in the state. For fiscal year 2026, our county's funding was $21.83 per capita. Today, we are asking for an increase that would allow us to not only meet, but exceed the state average at $23.05. Specifically, we are requesting $221,814 for fiscal year 2027. This increase to $23.31 per capita is an essential investment. It moves us past the middle of the pack and signals that Black Hawk County is a premier destination for rural families. By exceeding the state average, we are building a competitive advantage. When families look at where to settle in Iowa, they look at the quality of life and the services provided to their children. Exceeding the average tells those families and our current residents that Black Hawk County prioritizes literacy, innovation, and community connection that drive lifelong economic growth, each of which are part of the county's vision elements. Finally, I would like to address a specific clause in our contract regarding the 50% local tax allocation requirement. In our smaller libraries, a larger percentage of the people we serve are rural residents. In LaPorte City alone, over 20% of our total circulations last year came from rural residents. Under the current rule, small libraries are inadvertently penalized because our city tax appropriations are naturally smaller than those of our urban libraries. To adjust this, we recommend an amendment. The 50% local tax allocation requirement should only apply if a city's tax appropriation exceeds $100,000. This change ensures our large libraries are held to a fair standard while protecting the ability of our small libraries to serve our rural neighbors without being restricted by their size. Our libraries are the engines of civic engagement and lifelong learning. By increasing our support to $23.31 per capita, you are ensuring that every resident of Black Hawk County has a door open to discovery. And I know Michelle Wheeler has a few more comments to add as well.
Hi, Michelle Wheeler. You've met me, but I'm one of the small libraries that's been affected by the 50% cap. And Michelle has tried very hard to just help us work through that as much as we can. But we are one of the second highest circulation to the rural families. And not to say everyone doesn't serve them with things beyond books. I mean, we all offer so many services and try to serve them the best we can. But we have 51% of our library cards are to people in our rural community. As I said, got a second highest circulation to that. In fiscal year, excuse me, 25, 65% of our circulation is to rural. And so we're a town of only 840 people, and so they are funding me very generously actually for the size of their tax base that they can draw from. So I just hope you will consider that change and just know we are all doing our very best to serve our community. One of our goals is to really help alleviate that isolation because we are further away from a lot of the, from our, not that it's terrible or anything, but a lot of the people that have other difficulties, they will utilize our services in town and we are just heavily accused. So I just wanted you to meet me and just, I would appreciate your consideration on this funding. So, thank you.
Any questions I can answer regarding the change to the contract or the funding request?
Congratulations on the addition of a makerspace. I think that's a really valuable addition for all the libraries.
Want to restate what you want the change to be, just to make sure we get it clear.
Yes, yeah, so it'll be $23.31 per capita.
Change to the language, sorry.
Oh, the change in language.
Yeah.
Yes, so it is the 50% local tax allocation requirement. Specifically, the language will simply need to say if the city's tax appropriation exceeds $100,000.
So, yeah, what you wrote in the letter really, like you say, we'd have to summarize it if that were in fact the language we'd adopt, sure.
And of course, I can make sure we have a updated contract with recommended language sent over to Michelle.
Any questions?
No, I definitely would like to see us get above that 50% mark as far as funding in the state. So we've always lagged behind, but now it's kind of within reach to get us there.
Thank you, Supervisor.
Thank you very much. Thanks for all of you coming tonight too.
Would that be a separate work session, I'm assuming, about the contract
We can
adjustment?
do that
Okay.
anytime. Alright, so if we want to go ahead and move on, go to general assistance.
Good morning, Board. Colleen Schipper, Blackhawk County General Assistance Coordinator. As far as the purpose goes, that all stays the same. I just added a real short sentence at the bottom, just outlining the mission statement and core values. To read, we strive to put the mission statement and core values at the forefront of every interaction we have with clients, either in person or on the phone, to try to ease the burden for the individual. And that was the only thing that changed on that. As far as the statistics go, they did increase by about 570 for fiscal year 26. And for fiscal year 25, they increased by 570. We are right on target for fiscal year 26 to stay pretty much the same as 25. It's something that we can never predict, but we are pretty much on target for last fiscal year for that. As far as the overall budget, there's just not a lot of changes. It decreases by 0.21%, totaling $1,500. Within the overall budget, this just includes my increase for salary and benefits, a 3% increase for the 3 agencies, and then a 3% increase for the judicial hospital referee charges for the substance abuse committals. The other increases are just a small increase of $500 for office supplies. And then also I have to bring up a software line item. I've never had to pay for any software that general assistance has used. I've used the same software, CSN through ISAC for about 20 years. They've never charged for that. As of this fiscal year, or next fiscal year, they're gonna start charging $2,500 per year per county. I did just find out that patient advocate and the jail also are using that according to the letter that I received. I'm not positive on that.
I think that might be for other counties, I'm not sure that's true.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you use CSN at all that you know of? I don't know. We'll look into it further. So one way or the other, it's either $2,500 out of GA budget, but I know Jackie uses it for patient advocate. So it's either gonna be split 2 ways or 3 ways, if you guys agree with me continuing to use that. It's just super beneficial because it has all the case history for all 99 counties for anybody using it, so I don't know what else I would use if I didn't have that, so I don't, like I said, it's been free for all the years so far, but they're gonna start charging for that. And then the only other increases are utility increase of $5,000, and then room and board for short motel stays of $1,500. I am decreasing the budget line item for shelter by $10,000, and that's only to get closer to the actual numbers spent from the previous years. And then taking out the transportation for substance abuse committal of $3,500, and then decreasing the hospital charge for substance abuse of $5,000. Eastside Ministerial Alliance, Jesse Cosby and Operation Threshold still continue to do a great job at what they do for distributing the funds for the county. On average, they have about 6 to 7 employees that are handling this day in and day out. Right now, for fiscal year 26, we are a little under budget. I think we're about 40% spent. So I'm totally comfortable with the amounts that I am budgeting for fiscal year 27. And then for revenues, I'm budgeting $500 less. The only revenues we get is through the interim assistance program for people that are found eligible for SSI that we've assisted. That's few and far between, and then for clients that reimburse us for past assistance. And I just want to thank Michelle for always making this a smooth, easy process, and thank the board for the continued support of this program, because it does make a huge difference for the lives of people in Blackhawk County. I don't know if you have any questions.
Are you fully comfortable with the reduction in hospitalization then?
Yeah, last year, I think I paid maybe 1 hospital charge for substance abuse. I hardly ever even get billed for those. Most of the insurance covers that. Once in a while, there'll be one that falls through the cracks, but like I said, I haven't had a problem with that so far.
How about the gas, electric, and water?
Yeah, the only reason I'm increasing that a little bit, last fiscal year, Operation Threshold in July, August, and September, the only funds that they had for utilities was the county funds. So we were just inundated July, August, and September, so I'm just trying to look ahead on that, because I know we are over budget on utilities right now, but there again, you can never predict it, because I don't know what their funding is gonna look like going forward either. And then the shelter, it looks odd that I'm decreasing that, but it's just that I've been trying to get that evened out between the actual numbers spent, and then with us raising the income guidelines, I'm just trying to get that closer to what we're spending.
Anybody, other questions?
No, I would say just on the hospitalization, like just, come back to us, if it does change, I worry about the changes in the Affordable Care Act impacting it, and changes in Medicaid, eligibility.
Definitely, and like our medication expenses are minimal right now, but that's something that can always change as far as the Medicaid changes and all of that, and then that's just when I'd have to come back and ask. Because we used to assist with a ton of medications, we'd see like 10 to 12 people a day just for medications, and now we don't see practically anybody, so, but that can change at a drop of a hat, but we just have to deal with that when it comes. I didn't budget anymore for that because I just don't know what it will look like, so. Okay?
Yes, thank you.
Yep, thank you. Yep.
Next, we have board marketing with Gabby DeWitt.
Good morning, board.
Morning.
Yep, Gabby DeWitt, marketing. Purpose statement is, oops.
I don't know if you wanted to rather do your.
Yeah, that's fine. Yes, please, thank you.
Sorry.
Nope, that's okay. Just on there. very few slides, but I did take a page out of Caitlin's handbook as far as aligning it with the chart to make it easier to follow. It helps me too, since I'm fairly new to budgeting. But again, the purpose statement, we're just trying to, trying to help increase understanding and access to services in Black Hawk County. I really enjoy working with the county departments, learning more about what they do, as well as helping them get the message out of the great work they do. So, yes. I tried to categorize this by things that didn't change, things that did go up, and things that had a decrease. Really, the overall no change to the budget, you can see there. I wanted to point out that the biggest line item in this group is the professional services, the 0670. It was $10,000 last year, it's $10,000 this year. Having that last year, I had kind of in my mind thought that I might be utilizing more like video and photography services, things that are maybe I wanted a more professional look, or I just didn't have the capacity to complete. It ended up being very handy to have, because that's how we're funding the accessibility contract that we entered into last month. And so I've kept that line item as the same, just because knowing that there are going to be probably some accessibility needs in the next fiscal year. And then also keeping an eye on the availability of having local design or video help as needed. The video that Mike showed, was somebody who had professional drone services, and it was really well done. And so sometimes that's just nice to be able to have. But the dues and memberships, those are the same. That's government social media group that I'm in, and 3CMA, and everything else, nothing has changed there. The notable budget decreases, I did decrease the training budget by 40%. This still allows for me to attend the 3CMA conference in September, which will be the first time that I'm attending that, and offers flexibility to take advantage of other training options. But it didn't need to be as high as last year, because we paid for the CPC program at TCU, and I'll have my second year in that, but I won't have to pay an additional training fee. So travel, you'll notice, isn't on either of these slides, because I did decrease it a little bit, but not that much. It is basically the same. And then the miscellaneous supplies line item, I decreased by 21%. I plan to purchase brand materials and outreach items this year, so we won't need as much next year. I'm kind of anticipating like an every other year as far as kind of building up some of our supplies that way. And so doesn't mean that we're decreasing outreach activity, it's just, having our stocks in place. And then advertising and marketing, we haven't utilized all of the funds that we put in for social media marketing, and that's a pretty nominal cost anyway, so I did bring that down by 25%. And then the budget increases are printing. Unfortunately, Waterloo Schools print services, they don't print for outside accounts anymore, and so some of the business cards was one of the things that we did a lot through them that was pretty economical. We did find another vendor in the area that will print them for us at a pretty reasonable cost, but this just brings all of that printing costs under the marketing budget, and then still allows some for professional printing when needed. And then the big one is the software. Earlier, I think it was like July or August, I came to you with Loomly, which is our social media scheduler, and it had doubled in price. And so I kind of started looking at some other schedulers. We are required by Iowa code to also have social media archiving, so that if people post a comment and take it off, we are still capturing those comments. It's just a way, especially if there was like a freedom of information release, that we are capturing, because social media is all considered public record. And so we're required to have that. Right now, we use Archive Social, which is a separate platform, and that's $10,000 a year, and it's split between IT and the sheriff's budgets. But I am proposing a separate vendor that offers the social media scheduling platform, and the archiving is included. So while it increases my budget, it actually is saving the county $5,500. And so the new platform that we're researching right now has both functions in the one tool. It's $7,500 annually compared to the, I think it's about $1,300 when you combine the two. And it stores, all the data is stored in the US and it meets the CGIS compliance that the sheriff office needs. And so while it is a $6,300 increase in my budget, it does actually save the county $5,500. So those are the notable, much smaller budget than some of the others, but those are some of the notable changes, and I just look forward to continuing to support the county. Some of my goals for 2026 is to get us on that path to compliance for accessibility and complete and begin implementing our strategic communications plan. So I'm looking forward to that. Any questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sheriff's office.
Good morning, Board. Yeah, Black County Sheriff.
Give me a minute or five. Open before the meeting.
First off, I'd like to point out that before I even stepped up here with Gabby's help, already helped save the county $5,500.
I'm surprised you didn't mention that. Thank you for doing that, Nate.
Yes, I think probably thank Gabby more than Nate.
Yeah. Thank you for mentioning.
Yes, it's probably gonna go downhill. So we keep it away. So I threw a quick PowerPoint with you here, nothing too major in it. The first, I think, 7 slides you're gonna see are all gonna be with my revenue, and it goes down the same order, as it should anyway, by what Michelle sends out. My overall revenue didn't really change much at all, and you'll see that. But as I was looking through it, some of the accounts over the years have gotten skewed to where a lot of the line items were off. So this is really just kind of some cleanup to where you're gonna see some big drops, but then there'll be some other bigger gains. So I'm not cutting much for revenue at all, so we'll go do that here quick first. The room and board, that's been steadily declining for a couple years now. Unfortunately, that's probably gonna keep up. So I did, coming into this year, I cut it down to 250,000. I'm gonna drop it to 175, and honestly, we talked about going further, but we'll do that for this year. But just know that in the years to come, that's something that's probably gonna keep declining, unfortunately. Our fine revenue, that's that 9% that we get back from the state. Looks like we've been pretty consistently hitting that $100,000 mark. We'll see where we're at on this. When I did these screen captures for the 2026 numbers, it was November, so this data, some of it may be through October, some may be through November. I'm not sure exactly what those are. So the data under 2026 is already a couple months outdated, but I feel pretty confident going with 100,000 on that. Our mileage revenue has pretty consistently been in that 20,000 mark, so again, taking that up to get in line with where it historically has been. This, I don't really even know if that was, but 3 years in a row now, we haven't taken anything in on it, so it's probably safe to say we're not taking anything in on the sales and use tax on that. Civil processing revenue, we've been pretty consistently getting up closer to that $400,000 mark, so we've been at 330 for the last several years, gonna bump that up to 380, and we'll see what that does in the future, and hopefully that can continue to climb. Forfeited property revenue, that's something we just don't see a whole lot of. Obviously, over the last several years, the highest we've had on that is 15,000. So we're just kind of dropping that down to 2,000. We get some little things here and there. Once in a while, if we have a big recovery, something it might bump up above that, but typically it's not gonna be that high on it. Commissary concessions revenue, again, there's 2 sides to my commissary. The one is this is the concessions where we sell the hygiene, the food, that kind of stuff. The other side is the communication side. Some people see this and think, wow, you're making a lot of money off that. Keep in mind that it's just revenue out of that soon to be 350,000 on that. We pay 2 part-time employees, so the equivalent of 1 FTE comes out of that.
And then obviously everything we sell, we have to buy before we sell it on there. So I think I just sang something not too long ago showing the prices we sell it on are pretty much convenience store prices. So we don't wanna gouge anybody on it. So the amount of actual income we make off that 350,000 is pretty negligible really. But the revenue is there. That revenue probably keeps climbing just because the prices we pay for stuff goes up, so then where revenue goes up, so unfortunately on the expense side, it goes up just as much too. Let's see, I see there's something else I was gonna touch on that, and it's eluding me right now.
We're talking about federal.
Yeah, that'll be on the other side of it, on the communication side of it. So like I said, this side is pretty safe with where it's at there. So again, all those changes actually resulted in me increasing the revenue by $6,000 for next year. Unfortunately, had to reduce the fund balance for the 60/40, so by moving some of that fund balance out of there, it actually ends up showing a net decrease in the revenue. Michelle can probably explain that part a little better, because
We'll talk more about the 60/40 fund later, but as we use fund balance, I've had to budget that in here so that we aren't pulling property taxes. And we're running out of the fund balance, so I had to reduce that. So that's why, if you look at his sheets, it will appear his revenue's down. And that's only because of the fund balance. The other line items, he did have a net increase of 6,000.
so something to keep in mind in there. And then on the other side of my commissary, namely communications, there's been some FCC rulings. The first one came out a couple years ago where they had initially said there would be no more commissions allowed from the companies, and that would have taken effect this coming April. There's been a stay on that, where they're still working out some things with the FCC. There's obviously a lot of interested corporations that are kind of fighting that. So there's gonna be some commissions that still come in, and right now that revenue is set at $300,000. That's probably gonna go down. I don't know where they're gonna land on this, but had it gone the way of the original ruling, come April, that $300,000 would have been eliminated. Obviously, the inmate commissary fund is what we pay a lot of things out of, jail base. That's what all the mattresses, the blankets, the jail uniforms, the jail vans, a lot of things that benefit the inmates come out of that fund that would otherwise we would have to do tax-based fund. So kind of keep an eye on that, seeing where that's gonna land. That's going through some litigations and things right now, but hopefully it doesn't hurt us too badly going into the future. But just a couple of red flags there that between room and board and commissary stuff. I don't pull in a whole lot of revenue over there, and two of those streams are unfortunately probably gonna be getting clipped a little bit. Moving on to the expenses, I think I only have like 4 things that are gonna change on there. The first one needs a little explanation. The jail food, which is our contract with Summit, somehow or other 2 years ago, there was a mistake made in there. If you go through the amended budget on it, you see in '24, we had $705,000 in it. And that increases, it's supposed to increase each year by what the food away from home CPI is. Typically right now, I think it's about 3.7%. We do that based in December for the upcoming year, so we know what to budget it on. That was obviously before I took the helm there, 24 going into FY 25. I don't know if the wrong numbers were sent over, if something got transposed over here, whatever, but that 705,000 should have gone up to 741,000 for FY 25, and instead it decreased. And so then the number that I gave this year, 3.7% increase, should have been based off 741,000, instead it was based off 693. So when I caught that mistake this year, I bumped us up to 797, which obviously looks like a huge increase, but it's really doing a correction, so I'm underfunded on it this year. It's gonna come under, so this should get it back to where it should be. So that's the reason for the large increase on that. Housing inmates out of county, most of that is our juveniles, which have just gotten ridiculous, and I have no say in that. Central Iowa charges us generally $250 per day per juvenile, so $7,500 a month
There's no oversight on that, there's no, and they actually called us one-on-one a couple months ago and said, hey, this kid's being a problem, we're either gonna up your rate to $450 a day or come get him. And fortunately, we were able to find someplace else that would take him, but it's like, if we wouldn't have, can't likely put him in there without a judge telling me I can do so, and there's nothing that they wanna come back and say it's $1,000 a day. We're literally prisoners to what they charge us.
At any given time, how many kids are we looking at?
Generally, there's only 3 or 4, so you're talking $7,500 a month per
Sure.
kid, yeah. Sometimes we get, down to, it's not often we get down to 0, there's usually a couple. We've got a great relationship with the North Iowa Detention Center, and they charge far less, but their purposes actually, the kids we're talking about are people who are actually assigned to adult court. The priority out here on North Iowa Detention up on Duncan Road, they have to take the kids who are still actually assigned to juvenile court. They throw us a bone and kind of help us out and take some of ours that are assigned to adult court if they're underage. And it's about $100 a day they charge us, is all. But even if they're holding 1, 2, 3 for us, if they get a couple kids in that are still under the juvenile court jurisdiction, they call us up and they're like, hey, you gotta come get 1, 2, all 3, whatever it is, and then we take them elsewhere. Once they've caused problems at a couple places, that's usually when we get a judge to sign off and say, yeah, this kid needs to be in jail. But as far as my justification goes with them, telling them that it's costing me an arm and a leg doesn't meet that justification. It's gotta be that they're beating other kids up, assaulting staff, whatever. And then we get to keep them here so they can assault my staff instead. So it's a lose-lose deal all the way around, but that's a significant jump in that, but unfortunately that's what we've been spending on it.
So that 160 includes juveniles, charged as juveniles, and juveniles charged as adults, it's both?
If juveniles are charged as juveniles, we don't have to pay for that.
Okay, so this is just.
Yep, if it's juvenile charged, if juvenile's charged as juvenile, that stays in JCS's purview, and that's on them.
Got it.
So, yeah.
This budget also includes adults though, right?
And there are adults in there too, yeah, unfortunately, we haven't had to have much of that this year.
The county may be paying for juvenile detention in another.
Yeah, I think, that's not out of my
It's just
budget.
not out of the sheriff's budget,
Yes.
it's in a board activity. I didn't want everyone to think that was free.
Yeah, no,
No.
I don't think anybody here believes anything's free. Our extradition expenses creeping up on us. Again, we do as much as we can to keep those down, but if we have to pay one of the companies to bring somebody in, that costs us quite a bit. We're a part of a program called the Northwest Shuttle, which works great for pretty much anything out to the West Coast. It's a series of agencies that are all involved, and we've brought people back from Los Angeles, from Portland for free, Portland will take them, they'll drive 4 hours, another agency goes 4 hours, and we just kind of do that. And then same thing for us, we'll get somebody here that needs wanted out west, we'll drive them to Omaha or wherever we meet up. It's an agency that it's really I don't even know what you would call it, just kind of a unofficial thing that agencies do together. It hasn't really taken hold east of the Mississippi yet, really. We're about the far east thing. If we can get it to push out that way, then obviously that'll help us out. Yeah, it's called the Northwest Shuttle for a reason, I guess. That's where it stems out of. So we use that as much as possible, but unfortunately, when we have to go someplace and get somebody or pay one of the other companies to bring them in.
So is there a cost at all for that, or a membership fee, or anything
No,
like that?
there's
Just
a-
agree to join in?
It's pretty much everybody just kind of agrees to join us. I mean, there's a cost in the fact that if somebody's wanted out west and they end up in our jail, normally that wouldn't cost us anything. We wait for them to come get them. Now instead we'll drive them to Sioux Falls or to, wherever. So in that respect, there's somewhat of a cost, but when you're talking compared to paying one of the transport companies $3,000-4,000 to bring somebody back from the West Coast, it's minimal.
I noticed we had one from California, it was quite pricey.
Yep, and we can't always, get that shuttle to work for us, whether it be a timing thing, whether it be, if there's any medical issues at all, then we're pretty much stuck with it. But
But yeah, they are not cheap, and fortunately, Brian's pretty good working with us on that too, Brian Williams. If there's somebody that necessarily doesn't need brought back, he'll work with us on getting that changed too. But subscription expenses, this comes out of my commissary fund, so it doesn't hurt quite as bad, but yeah, MediaCom used to provide us with free cable. They stopped doing that here about a year or so ago, and they do it by TV because it's a whole licensing thing, so it costs us $200 a month. There was about a 3-month window where we didn't have cable while this was all getting straightened out, and we were having fights left and right. I mean, it's nothing else to do but getting each other's business stuff, so I think some people are like, why do they need cable? That's luxury, and it's like, well, why does your kid need a tablet? Because it gives them something to do, so that's the reasoning for that one. And then the NAF Care contract, I know that's a big one, that's a $100,000 increase this year. So my total operations asking there, you see I'm going up $264,000. Maybe some tweaking in there with a couple things Michelle's working on yet, but give or take, that's about where it's at. Really, outside of the 2 contract increases, I was asking for another $79,000 there. NAF Care, we're entering the final year of that contract. I know that's a huge thing that's always discussed, whether we can decrease services. I got, I think, 30,000 of it knocked out here a little bit ago. They've actually come to me a couple different times asking if we can staff another nurse, this or that. I'm just like, no, we're well over what we can be already. I'm hoping with the new state, with the ASO stuff, or the behavioral services going in, there may be some options going forward with that. And when we did this RFP 3-4 years ago, there was only the 2 companies. There has been another company that's kind of surfaced in Iowa that took over. There was one company that went bankrupt. And actually, they've taken over some of the smaller ones. I don't know if they're ready to go large or not, but I have had a preliminary conversation with somebody from that just to look, and they seem to think that they might be able to help us. So I don't know if that helps us going into this budget year, but know that for a year down the road, I am going to try and look at some options to bring that down. So we got to be real careful about scaling anything back. I know we talked about it, or a couple of you guys weren't here somewhere when we talked about it. Go back to 99, 2000, we were under consent decree from the Justice Department because after a suicide in the jail, they'd said we weren't doing enough. That was kind of what led us to the 24/7 medical coverage. We had all sorts of issues there. And then even you just look, going back my 5 years as jail administrator and last year as sheriff, we probably get 2 to 3 lawsuits filed a year just based on medical and mental health stuff. We haven't paid a dime on any of those. Most of them, I think, have actually been summary judgment we've been able to get rid of them on. But that's based a lot on the documentation that both NAF Care and we have. So there does come to play in there that, well, if we don't have the medical care to back that liability up, it doesn't take too many lawsuits to run that number up pretty quickly, especially when you're talking medical and mental health stuff. So again, I know it's a lot of money, a lot of things to balance in there, but my hope for the future is to try and curb at least some of that for you. That doesn't help us with the session today, but that's where we're at on that. My capital, not much change from the 5-year plan. Everything's the same items that have been in the 5-year plan for quite a while. Our handgun replacement this year, the amount that had been in there did increase by $30,000, went from 50 to 80. Some of that is, I think there's been maybe a lack of forethought on all the retirements, those guns leaving. We do a trade-in process. As retirees, we don't have the gun to trade in, but they've also changed the sight system on Glock from what it had previously been, which cost a little more, but then that also means that our holsters have to be replaced in with that. So that ramped that up a little bit. Glock recommends we do this every 5 years, rotate the guns out, and this will actually be year 7 for us. So we've pushed it, we have armors that go through them, everything's safe stuff. So we're fine pushing it to 7 years, but just know that it's definitely time to do that. Hope we can get a little bit of feedback on that to make sure we're good, because there's about a 6 to 8 month delay from the time we order them. We have it on our training calendar to do this in October, so we have to get them ordered here shortly to make sure we have them here on time to do that. Our copper replacements, one thing that's actually gone down. We used to
at 20,000 on that, and it's down to 10,000. So that negated at least 10,000 of that 30 that wasn't on there. And the carpet replacement, obviously, I'm not too worried about. Most of that's the original carpet from when the place was built in '95, but it actually is holding up. It's holding up better than the stuff I had put in the clerical area 2 years ago. So probably need to replace that carpet before I replace some of the other. But and just closing up again. Revenues, I tried to increase by 6,000, but that 60/40 fund negated that. Capital request a little bit over, and just kind of a reminder, each of the last 2 years after we've done this, I've gone back and cut $100,000 from it to try and help out. Last year we only bought 3 of our 5 vehicles due to the rotation stuff. We're gonna need to be back up to the 5 on that. That's all I had on that.
Do you want to go through the numbers? What do you think? Let's hit the highlights.
It's definitely the highlights thing, the changing on the 60/40, I know we're probably gonna have to touch on that. I know my side on that, I was able to cut down, we had a benchmark software program that does a lot of our trainings and our personnel stuff. I found a few modules in there that we weren't using, so I was able to cut those out, so what I was spending on benchmark went down. The Cortico app we've been paying for out of there, which was $11,000, especially with Wellmark's got some new stuff in there. I felt confident that we could stop paying for benchmark out of that, so I took that 11,000 out of there.
I was kind of hoping that with the renovations with the kitchen area that cost might go down a little bit.
The cost of the
Food.
and stuff, no, I mean, that helped. We made it a lot more bearable workplace. It's not nearly as hot, not nearly as humid. It's safer, there's not the moisture building up on the floor and the walls and everything else. But as far as the cost of the food goes, unfortunately. And part of that contract is we provide them with the kitchen and everything in it, so it's just kind of expected on our part. So they've got a nicer environment to work, a safer environment to work in, but unfortunately didn't cut down the cost of the food on it.
Any more longevity on keeping that outfit staffed?
Keeping the, I mean, I would hope it
I would assume that.
helps them, yeah, too. That's why we're working in a hole every day, yeah.
Yes.
Staffing, how's your staffing right now?
We're still down probably about 10 bodies. We've got a new deputy just started this week, and I think we've got 2 or 3 detention officers ready to get going, so we're still plugging on. We probably ended 25 about the same place that we started at those, the 9 retirements, and then we had a deputy retire at the end of this past December, and another one's retiring here in 2 weeks or so. So every time I think we're gaining ground, we lose a little, and I know we definitely had some staff frustrations through the holiday and stuff, because there's some forced overtime and that kind of stuff, which is bad enough anytime, but when it's Christmas and kids are in school and everything else, so I definitely felt some frustration over there the last couple of weeks. But again, remain positive. We've got a bunch of apps coming through. I think we'll have another deputy testing coming up. We've got 20-some people in that pool. I remain positive. I'm always the optimist on it, but we've got a lot of apps coming through, and Captain Haggerty's working his butt off on to get those through, and Chief Deputy Toronto's does the same on the sworn side. So.
You brought up the 60/40. Did you want to talk a little bit more?
Yes, we finally got my computer to behave. So this is kind of the simplified format that only has the FY27 budget, but I've broken it out into separate columns, one for the 60% fund, one for the 40%. And the 60% really has only paid for the per-mark contract for security and one of the deputies in the courthouse. The issue is, as that room and board revenue declines, it's not sustaining the cost of Permar and one deputy. So, as you remember, we talked about this last year, we were gonna run out of, we've been subsidizing it with fund balance and we ran out of that now. So, if we want to keep the same level of service, we're gonna have to start funding that with property taxes. And so for 2027, I'm projecting that at an $85,000 subsidy. Then the 40% side, Nate has reduced some things. He's removed that Cortico software. He's pretty much got his expenses covered. He's got a $21,000 loss there, but he still has a $220,000 savings account that he can subsidize that $21,000. So that can continue to be subsidized for a few more years if that revenue would remain at this level, which we don't know whether it will or not. So really not necessarily positive news for the 60/40 fund if we can't have the room and board revenue. That revenue was about $350,000 total just a couple of years ago, and now he's brought the projection down to 175. And he did bump up projected fines, so to help offset that, we'll hope that continues, but again, that's a factor of tickets being written and funds being collected.
That does go into that same account, so hopefully.
You said probably the Permar and one deputy.
Yes. And there is currently another deputy that has been paid for using the attorney fine collection fund. I know, and unfortunately Brian's not here, but I think he's going to talk to you about maybe not doing that either, so. Just not a lot of good news for courthouse security project, I guess I'll call it right now.
Interesting to hear about that one.
Yeah, that was, Michelle mentioned that to me, I said, that was the first I heard of it too, so.
Oh, was it? Okay. Maybe it's safer upstairs now. Well.
We're saving 5,000 on archiving though.
Tongue in cheek, for sure.
Yeah. You might want to repeat that. I'm not sure they were listening.
Well, Brian, have him here, huh? We'll ask him later.
Ours it is, we save $5,000, but we spend more than that.
So you said 85,000 is what we'd be looking for taxing if the state as is.
Yes,
For this one.
approximately, yep.
Yeah, I would love to say, well, we'll just take more out of my side to help fund your side, but obviously that's just gonna drain that and then neither side has anything in it, so.
Anything else, Michelle, too, that you want to point out from the sheets that make a difference?
I don't think so. Nate did a nice job of going through all the changes. We could go back. He's got his statistics, service calls, continue to rise. General fund, again, his overall revenue will not be going down if I wasn't taking out the fund balance for the to use for 60/40.
Mhm.
Actually, one notable thing, salaries, and we've tried to triple check this, but salaries are only rising 2.35% for the sheriff's office. I think because of all the turnover in long-time employees in the last year, so that does not remain the same in the rural fund, but at least for primarily jail administration, I think that's why this is less expensive. And he spoke with you about the expense increases he's requesting. So our largest operating budget, obviously, at almost 17 million net property taxes. And the rural fund, where most of our patrol deputies are located, those salaries are going up 5.5%, which is probably more consistent with their STEP programs and things, so.
You said 5.5?
Yes, 5.49% for personnel. and no other increases, in other expense accounts for that fund.
For that too, I think the sworn staff are getting a 4% raise, whereas the civilian staff, I think, are they 2 or 3? So a smaller raise anyway, but then patrol tends to be the more senior
Right, I think that's the,
deputies too, so.
yeah.
So you're talking entry-level civilians versus more senior sworn, so.
And then, so the sheriff's office is really funded 4 ways actually. So we've got the general fund with property taxes, and then the 60/40 fund, part of the general fund. And we have the rural fund for the patrol deputies, and then the commissary fund that Nate also spoke to you about. And so that's the last slide that you have. Those funds remain in that fund if they are not used, in that year. It does have a small increase to that, less than $3,000 this year, but.
Michelle, will you have that broken out a little more for us, so we get into more of the budget stuff? What parts are the rural?
Yes, you'll get it.
Okay.
Yep, there'll be a different report that I'll show you the total things that go to rural.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. Right now, we've kind of sliced and diced it into departments and activities, and then once you've had all the presentations, then we'll start pulling them together, look at the overall picture for each fund.
Okay.
Got anything else for me?
Thank you.
These are the easy part, just hearing the presentations and where things are at. The puzzle comes later.
Yeah.
Correct, that's correct.
Looks like the board selected activities is next.
Yep, I put together a few of the things. I don't want to say we're easy, but not as much activity to work on it.
You did that on purpose to go after him,
Well, I left us last because I didn't know how much time we needed for things. I thought it would be better to have this be last. Let's see it. All right. Because we have so many board activities and it functions a little differently, I have that summary sheet that just talks about the kind of activities that we're tracking in these funds that we're talking about today. So one of them is the Cedar Bend Humane Society contract for our animal control. And then we do an indirect cost allocation plan that allows us to charge the State Department of Health and Human Services primarily for some of their housing. We're not reimbursed 100% of that. And I don't know how that might change in the future, but for now, they receive some federal reimbursement, which they then pass through to us. So we end up netting quite a bit from investing that $10,000. Now, we're also paying all the maintenance fees too, but this is just strictly so that we can recover a portion of that. And then we have the contract with the Department of Correctional Services for the pretrial supervision. And there's a few other things, but that's primarily what is covered in the activities we're gonna talk about today. So you can see we're projecting that cost allocation report. We're projecting to recover about $115,000 of overhead expenses from that. So it's well worth the $10,000. The Humane Society contract has been pretty stable. We are starting to collect some fees from housing animals. It's small, but $500, we're adding that. Intercog dues are tracked here, which we're budgeting what they've notified us our amount will be this year. But and I should have mentioned that on the summary, this is where we budget for the community services allocations. So I have left that at the $100,000 that we had in 2026. I also included $50,000 for the regular food bank contract that you also funded. And then I did leave $25,000 in for the National Cattle Congress Fair that we've done for the last couple of years now. Then we have the Department of Correctional Services, and that's for the facility across the street here on Sixth, that 260, which they have not needed recently. They have in the past. It's just hard to predict with all the things that are changing if that's going to increase, so I've left that there. And one of the things on here, and good, Nate is still here, because CJIS, which is Criminal Justice Information Systems, the county's portion of that is also included in this budget. And again, I budgeted for what they have approved their budget at. And the last thing is Met Transit. We do provide them a small amount annually, and I think I enclosed the request letter from Met for the funding, and that's what I have included in the budget. So those are all the general fund ones for today. I don't know if you have any questions or discussion on any of those.
For the Met Transit, was there an increase in that at all, or that's just the?
Yes, last year they reduced it to 2,500, this year they went up to 3,395, so not a huge amount. If you're looking at the sheets that I handed out, in 2025, the expense is 8,800, but that's 2 years worth because they didn't get some paperwork turned in until after the end of the year.
So I guess the one thing I'm still questioning, if we were to do something, never mind, I think it's in another portion that will be coming up. I'll hold off on the question.
I've got a question on Humane Society. So if an animal's picked up in Waterloo, they've got I believe a contract, or?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, okay.
Well, they've got a whole.
They used to have a
They used to have a
contract,
contract, now they've got.
Well, they still house, the last that I was aware, the Humane Society still housed the animals.
I guess I'm ultimately trying to wrap my head around why this would be in the general and not in the rural.
That is a very good question, but we have actual ruling from, I don't know if it was issued by the AG's office, and it's probably 20 years old, but stating that benefited the whole county, and so therefore it needed to be in the countywide levy. It doesn't really make sense to me either, but when you when you've had something ruled against you, you kind of follow that.
Yeah.
Hey, we could try changing it if you want to. It all
makes more sense there than it does.
It does, because what we're covering are strays picked up in the rural parts of the county, not in any of the cities, so.
Do we get a report from them annually about what their services have been for the past year?
Actually, we get a report every month that shows what they've picked up.
I've never seen one of those yet.
Oh, yeah, you can, like I said,
We
you
get it.
certainly can, or like I
It does
said,
come.
Christie's always willing to come too if you need to,
Yes,
so.
yes.
Okay.
Jump to rural. The ones we're gonna talk about today are actually considered general supervision. We have two different board options with this. This one, it's very simple. We administer the loans made to townships and then the township trustee compensation. We've had a couple of loans that were made, Barclay and Fox Townships, for the purchase of fire trucks. That's generally what those would be for. You see revenue in here for that as they are paying us back. And those loans are about, I think they're both good 10-year periods.
10 years?
Yeah, so we'll have a while to be collecting that. And if you'll recall, you increase the trustee compensation that they could apply to be reimbursed for last year. So we set that bar at 9,500, not knowing how many people would apply for it. So far, it's been relatively small, so we cut it to 5,000. We do know there's some changes in trustees, and we are anticipating that as new trustees come on, they'll probably be more likely to apply for reimbursement, so that's what it's hard to guess, but that's what we're guesstimating will happen this year. I didn't see any point in leaving it up at 9,500 because it just didn't seem likely that that was gonna happen anyway.
We were trying to be realistic, but we knew that they were gonna be very conservative. They've just always been such good folks to do.
A lot of the long-standing ones, I think, just feel that's a volunteer activity they do and they don't expect to be paid, so that's wonderful that they're willing to do that for.
And I remember they were most concerned with the clerks.
Yes, because they do, that takes more work, and I think we are paying maybe a few of those now, but we haven't had a lot yet.
From the township meetings, I was at the clerk's table, I should probably ask some more questions about that.
Makes sense, yeah.
I don't even know if they did much, but I just thought the ones that came forward were at least, were concerned about clerks, not their own salaries. And maybe the clerks do the same thing. They might just be thinking they're helping their community and, yeah, shaking.
Yeah, I agree with Michelle. A lot of them are just doing it as it's a need and they're willing to do it.
And they're doing
But it's, I think it's good though in regards of just recruiting people to run, because it's very difficult. I mean, we have some really long-standing clerks and trustees, and so when they choose not to, it's really hard to recruit other people to take that on. So this is I hope that this will be helpful for that.
So it's hard to just get committee and board members sometimes, and so we get them.
That's all the prepared materials we have today, so.
Okay. Anybody has questions, comments, anything? Otherwise, I'm assuming Tuesdays we're still staying with next Tuesday. We haven't moved any Thursday meetings or anything at this point.
Not yet. I think we'll have hopefully we'll have quite a few ready for next Tuesday. I know conservation, human resources, and there are some others that should be ready for next week, so. Depends on how well this week goes, how many more we get on for Tuesday.
Well, we'll move on to item 11, any reports or information from the board?
I got a couple here. One, I followed up with Jess was not able to attend the CGIS meeting last week, so I sat in for him. We're concerned about the update on the radio tower project. There was no really information instead there. They are looking at doing a presentation from the folks here sometime in the future. Wasn't specific about how soon, but they supposedly can be coming with us with recommendations from whoever it is they're supplying the equipment. With more detail and cost. So there wasn't really anything new there that presented. Today, I want to make sure folks know that we have things already that are scheduled and in place for doing understanding your property assessments. Pass these around for the board members who have people that want to may want to know about those. Asking Gabby to do a press release today. I was at Hudson City Council meeting last night, getting information out, and then I'll be doing a presentation at Cedar Falls City Council on the 20th. There is a lot more interest. I was really surprised even last night at Hudson, the amount of people are saying, yeah, they've been hungry for this information. So anyways, hoping we can pack the room in these two different events. February 5th at the Cedar Falls Library, 6 to 7:30, and then February 24th at the Waterloo Library, 6 to 7:30. We are asking them to RSVP in case the room does get full, just in case, so if we need more space or if we have to limit it. So, last thing is we've got policy review coming up tomorrow. thank you for Mike helping with the lobbying policy. Gonna look at moving that forward, I'm gonna try to get this emailed out to you for review yet today, just so you know what's being moving forward. And then, working Mike with the, post-bid, compliance questionnaire, we're looking at trying to have another meeting with staff on that, but hopefully next month we can have that ready for policy review as well and get into the board.
At next week's meeting, Cedar Valley, Grove Cedar Valley had emailed over a proposal, so I'll send that around to the board. But I'd like to get them to speak and present at the meeting on the 20th. And then, sorry, one second. Wanted to talk, we'll probably put it on Tuesday's agenda for a work session with Galloway, just regarding board administration, after a conversation I've had, so, probably.
Following the budget and all this kind of stuff still, or a different time? Same.
It would, it would be a different, I would probably add the work session just to hold, I'd add the work session request to the agenda so we can vote. And then actually hold the work session, I'll work with you on availability and Mike's availability and all that, so.
Just to get it on the agenda for dates and stuff.
Yep.
Anything else? Okay, super, we'll move on to motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, everybody.